What is up, you guys, and welcome back to the Walk with Faith podcast. I'm super excited because I have a guest on today, Lia Fifer.
Hello.
Super excited. But yeah, so today we are going to be talking about comparison and kind of what that does for your spiritual health and your mental health even. I feel like I get drawn into comparison so much, and I'm just like, it's so bad.
Especially with social media, yeah.
Yes, it's so bad. But first, just to start off, like I ask every guest, I'm going to have you give your 3 words that describe you before Christ and then the 3 words that describe you after.
So my words before Christ, I put lost, lonely, and hurt because it was just a very lonely life trying to find like companions that just made me feel fulfilled, but obviously nothing fulfills you but Christ. And then words after, I put fulfilled, joyful, and loving because I feel like it just made me a better person overall, really.
Yeah. What was your moment that you really felt like you were really close to the Lord? You got really close.
So I went to Beach Week, which is this week my church takes. It's like a road trip down to the beach, and then it's really just like a week where you don't focus on anything but Christ, and you're just surrounded by people who are also following Christ. And I think that first time I went, it really just opened my eyes completely.
Yeah, I feel like Beach Week has been good for a lot of people. I was supposed to go last year, but I ended up my orientation date for school. I had to go to orientation, but yeah, I feel like a lot of people have a really good time there, and obviously you grow closer to the Lord during that, but then you also kind of just have other fun moments with everybody else there as well, like going golfing and things like that.
It also helps you find people that you can be friends with that are also following God in the same way. Yeah,
that's true, because everybody goes, most people go to New Beginnings that go to Beach Week.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really nice. So yeah, we're just honestly just gonna dive right into comparison and kind of what that means for us. But I just wanted to start off giving just the Google definition of comparison, and that was a consideration or estimate of the similarities or dissimilarities between two things or people. So obviously whenever you're comparing yourself, it's typically a lot of times to another person and maybe their lifestyle, or like we said, social media. That can be something that is huge, that makes it easier for people to compare themselves, which is terrible. But I know personally for me, even with my photography, there's a bunch of people that are my age that have started to do photography in the area. There's at least 3 I can think of that are kind of my age or around my age. And a lot of times whenever I first kind of got started, most of them, I think they all started after me. And I always, whenever they first started, I would always look at their followers, how many followers they have, how many likes they're getting on their posts and things like that, which was so, it was so bad because I would just get in these little rabbit holes of oh, I need to do this better, I need to do this better, I need to buy this, I need to get this, and try to I don't know, just be the best. But obviously, I don't know, I wasn't gonna change my style of photography just because somebody else was doing something. But I just got really I just kept looking at that all the time, and I was just harping on myself. I'm oh, I'm not good, oh, this and this and this, I'm not getting bookings. But now, literally last night, somebody that lives 3 hours away booked with me. They're driving all the way to Evansville.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because it was a senior, and I asked what high school they went to, and they told me. And I was like, well, I never heard of that. And I Googled it. It was 3 hours away.
Oh my gosh. That's so exciting. Congratulations.
And literally, on the form that they filled out, it wasn't the senior rep. It was just, a different one. And it says, Evansville, Louisville, or travel. And they put Evansville. So, they're driving down here. And I was like,
that's
oh
crazy.
My gosh. I feel like I'm finally starting to get to a point where I can, see, the growth within that, which is really nice.
You also work so hard, with your accounts and everything. You put in so much effort.
I've been trying to post, every day. Because, I'm just random ones blow up. One of them, I literally have, 39,000 views and, over 1,000 likes on it.
That's
it's
crazy, yeah.
Yeah, random ones blow up and random ones do bad. But, I used to always get, they just, I don't know, I wasn't really in the algorithm well because I wasn't really posting that much.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't get many likes and stuff, and then I would look at that and compare that to somebody else, and it was just so, it was so bad. I just,
With consistency, though, you really will grow.
Yeah, what's the time that, like, you've compared yourself to somebody or something that...
So, honestly, the biggest time I can think of is I got cheated on in one of my, like, first serious relationships. And so that just makes it so easy to, like, compare yourself to the other person. And then, obviously, after that, I was feeling super down on myself just in general. And so I compared myself to people at my school, people online, literally anyone I would compare myself to. And just be like, why can't I do this? Why can't I be like them? And just, like, body-wise, lifestyle-wise, like, even in their faith, like, comparing your faith with others, being like, oh, well, they're following in this way. And I feel like there's so many ways to compare yourself to others, and I've been through about all of them.
Yeah, same. I feel like in the, like, faith point of view, I feel like I've done that so many times, especially whenever I kind of first got into my faith, because my kind of moment was after my chrysalis flight. And after that, there was so many people that I was just like, oh, like, I'm not like them. And one of the people I can think of is Lane St. Clair. So she's such a bubbly person. She's always so sweet to everybody. Like, she's always in a good mood. Like, obviously I've seen her down a couple times, but, like, she's like,
and she's so genuine about it too. Like, she's genuinely nice to everyone.
Yeah. And that was one of the big people I feel like at first I compared myself to, because she's just always so happy, I feel like, and I just like wasn't. I don't know, I'm like, I'm not a bubbly, outgoing person like that, and I should be. But, like, no, like, everybody's different, and, like, she expresses herself and her faith in that way. But, like, also, we don't have to. And, like, not everybody's going to take well to a super bubbly, loud person. Like, some people might take well to, like, a shy person. So, yeah, just really, comparison is just terrible. Like,
and it's something everyone goes through, and but the worst part about it is that when you're going through it, you feel like no one else is. Like, it's so hard to remember that everyone is comparing themselves, like, dang near constantly.
Yeah, because whenever you're going through that, you're just like, oh, I'm the only one that, like, feels this way, or things like that. And then it's really not like that, because then once you get out of that rabbit hole, you're kind of like, oh, wait, like...
Yeah.
Or, like, wait, why was I even doing that? Like, I really don't need to be like that person. Like, what?
And it's like, if you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, you'll never be happy with yourself.
Yes.
Like, you have to be able to be confident in yourself, like, in your faith, in your body, everything.
Yeah, that's really good, but, like, even, I have, some verses here, like, even there's comparison within the Bible. Like, it's not, like, obviously it is a humanly thing, but, like, this has happened to everybody. And one of the big stories, I was just trying to think, and obviously the Cain and Abel story. So I just picked out the couple kind of verses that explain that. It's kind of a long portion, but I'm going to read it anyways. So it's in Genesis 4, and it's verses 2 through 5, and then verse 8. So later she gave birth, obviously Adam and Eve is the parents of Cain and Abel. So later she gave birth to his brother Abel, and now Abel kept flocks and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord, and Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of his firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain, his offering, he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. And then skip to verse 8. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out to the field. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Like, he literally killed his brother because he was comparing, because Cain only, he brought some of his fruits, but he didn't bring, like, his first, like, most precious ones. And Abel did, so the Lord, like, was more appreciative of that. And Cain just got so caught up in comparison and jealousy and literally killed Abel. And another thing that I, like, think of with that, too, is, like, with comparison, another thing that comes out with that is jealousy.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, like, you get jealous of what somebody looks like, what somebody has, what somebody does, anything like that. And that's another, like, just rabbit hole of just, like, terrible. Because
jealousy will drive you to do crazy things, like Cain killing his brother.
Yeah, like, what? That's... And you wouldn't think, like, obviously, like, whenever you're in a situation of comparing yourself to somebody, like, you're not going to think, like, oh, I'm going to kill this person. Like, obviously that's like an extreme example, but like, you know, there could be like, you could be spreading rumors about somebody because you're comparing yourself and you're jealous or different things like
or
that.
even try and like change things about yourself that you really don't need to change just because you're comparing yourself and are jealous of this other person.
Yeah, a lot of people, one of the things I can think of with that too is like going on like diets and things like that. Like obviously like some people might need to because of health issues and things like that. But like, you know, God made us the way we are, and we don't all have to be the same body shape, body type, hair color, eye color, like anything. Like
as long as you're healthy, that's what's important.
Yeah, like we don't need to be going on these crazy diets, doing these crazy workout things. Like working out is good, and like it might make you feel better, like whatever, that's fine. But like we don't need to do that just because we want, like, we have to be this skinny, we have to be this, like we don't have to be that.
Yeah, and like a big thing with that for me is like these people who will post on social media like a day in their life, and it's like they wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym and then like run a mile and then do all this right before school, and it's like that is not attainable. Like that's not something you can do consistently and like keep up with it.
Yeah, and like that's probably not even real. Like it's obviously just for the video, which is like I feel like that happens a lot with those little day in the life videos.
Definitely, like, it's like you're not doing that every day.
Yeah, like what? Like that's just not how it is. And I follow. There's these 2 accounts I follow of these girls in Louisville. They're like probably 20 something. But they're just like content creators in Louisville, and they always post a day in their life all the time because they're like trying to promote these different brands and things like that. And I'm just like, this is not real. Like you are not spending all this money every day doing all these things.
You can post day in the life and like romanticize it a little bit, but it's when they do it in an extreme amount, like you're just like pushing that on other people, and you're gonna make other people compare themselves, and it's just, you want to try and be as real as you can in the internet, and you just never see that. Yeah.
And that's something we need to think about too, is like whenever we're posting on social media or different things like that, like people are going to look at that and they might be comparing themselves or might be jealous or whatever. And like obviously the whole thing we're talking about is like comparison and jealousy is an issue, and we need to learn how to get away from that. But at the same time, like we need to be careful what we're posting. Like if you feel like, I don't know, like something that just came to mind was like bikini pictures or things like that. Like it's fine, but like we don't need to be posting that all the time and just like.
Yeah, and it's like I understand wanting to post you looking your best, but at the same time, like it's hard for some people to remember what's real and what's not, especially with how easy it is to like edit things these days.
Yes.
Like,
oh my gosh, it's terrible.
So real. Like I could completely swap my face out for another one, and if someone didn't know me, they probably wouldn't know.
It happens all the time. It's crazy. And like even like within photography, I always like, I never really try like Photoshop or anything like that. Like obviously, like there was one time I like my shadow was in the picture, so obviously I like took my shadow out because I didn't want that. But like there's some photographers that will like Photoshop like if you have like a pimple or like if you have like whatever. I'm like, I just don't do that because like that's just not real.
And it's like, I'd understand if someone like asks you to, because like normally they have super clear skin and then they just happen to have a pimple like this one day. That's different than like completely giving yourself a whole different body shape. Like
yes, people do that on like Instagram all the time, like photoshopping themselves, and it's terrible.
And like I feel like Photoshop is like a really cool tool, and like you can do a lot with it, and there are times where like you can use it to like enhance a photo or like get a shadow out of it or things like that, but it just gets abused so much.
Especially even like in politics is something I can think of right now. Like a bunch of people, like they can do it with like the voices and stuff to where it looks like somebody's saying something and they're not, and I'm like, what the heck?
It's absolutely insane.
It's scary.
It really is. Like with AI and everything too. Have you seen those things where it's like it'll be a whole AI person and it'll post on TikTok like to a regular TikTok trend, and it looks so real.
What?
Like people will be like in the comments like, this person's actually AI, guys, like this is not a real person, and like you would never know.
Oh my gosh,
it's insane like what people can make these days, and you would just have no idea.
Yeah, like what? There's like a thing on Instagram now, I think, like whenever you post, there's like a thing where if you make it with AI, you're supposed to click made with AI. Because I saw that one day when I was posting, and I was like, what the heck? And then I like was scrolling through my feed, and this girl's thing said made with AI, but it was just a picture of her. So I was like, what? I'm like, did you...
Strange.
And like she was on a mission trip. The pictures were from a mission trip. So I was like, what?
I'm guessing it was an accident.
I was like, maybe she just accidentally, because the picture, like, it just looked like a normal picture of her. I was just like, what?
Or like, they added this new feature on Snapchat where like, before you even take a picture, it's like a filter, but you can adjust. It's basically photoshopping yourself.
I think I've seen the like beauty thing.
Yeah, and you can like make your nose smaller, make your lips bigger, make your eyes bigger, like clarify your skin, all of that before you even take the picture. And it's like, we're getting a little far, guys.
That's
like,
wild.
Yeah.
It's just crazy with technology because like, obviously there was comparison back then. This is like, this story is from forever ago, but now because people are able to do all these different things with technology and like social media and all the things, like now more than ever it's so easy to compare yourself to others.
People are constantly promoting like unrealistic standards, and it's so hard to like compare yourself to that you're seeing all the time, every time you're on your phone, and just it's hard to remember that it could not be real, and like you have to be happy with yourself. Like we have some
there's like verses.
Yeah, we have some verses here. Like, I think I found the one, Romans 12:3. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. So that's I feel like that also has to do with, like, posting yourself in an unrealistic light. Like, don't think of yourself more highly than you are.
Yeah.
And the same way, you shouldn't think of other people more highly than they are. Like, you just have to be happy with what you are and, like, find peace in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, because once we start thinking of ourselves, like, oh, I'm better than, like, I kind of also got drawn into that. I feel like sometimes, like, oh, I'm better than this photographer, and that, like, I don't know, like, there's just an example I can think of. I'm not gonna say who it is, obviously, but, like, I don't know, I can just think of something. I'm like, well, like, I'll, like, see a post or something, and I'll be like, oh, like, she has a lot of followers, but then I'm like, oh, no, like, what, my pictures are better than her, like, it's fine, it doesn't matter. But, like, that's terrible.
Yeah, like, you shouldn't
what?
think down on other people just like you shouldn't think down on yourself. Like,
yeah.
But it's so easy to get drawn into that, because it's like, you want to be better than someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like a good thing, though, is a lot of times whenever I do get, like, sucked into, like, thinking a different way or comparing myself, like, immediately right after, I'm like, oh, why did I just, like, that thought just came across my head, like, what? And I can kind of, like, realize it, but, like, it's like, even worse when we don't even realize it and we're just kind of drawn into doing these things, and then maybe some other people will notice it, because if it's, like, becoming a bad habit of, like, thinking that way, then people are going to notice.
Yeah, and if you say things like that, like, to other people, that just, like, looks so bad on yourself, too, because people aren't going to want to be around someone else who's constantly like, oh, I'm better. Like,
yeah, there's this, like, TikTok and Instagram Reel sound. I can't remember what it says right now. It's, like, something about, like, I'm something something and you're not.
Oh, I'm on SNL and you're not.
Yes, that one.
Carpenter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can think of, like, I've seen, like, reels and stuff of people, like, obviously they, like, make a caption and say, like, something different that's, like, related to them. But I'm just like, why are we putting people down like that? Like, what?
It's, like, it's okay to be happy for yourself sometimes, but it's not, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it just gets drawn to extremes a lot of times, and it's very...
And one that I really liked was Galatians 1:10. For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God, or am I trying to please man? If I were trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. And that one really stuck out to me, because it's like, at what point of comparison or trying to impress others are you really just, like, losing yourself in that?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we can start to do it because we're like, oh, I want this person to think this way about me, or I want this person to see this about me. And we really do seek approval of others. Like, I feel like everybody can gets drawn into that at some point in their lives, just seeking the approval of, like maybe even, like, the way you're dressing, or, like, something I can think about is, like, with high school, is like people that like will drink and go to parties and stuff. Like some people are just doing that just to make other people think that they're like a cool kid. Like
like a cool person, and it's like that doesn't really make you cool, but
yeah, like
it's
what?
like they just do it to have people like talk to them or want to hang out with them. And it's like if you can only get people to hang out with you by going to parties and stuff, they're probably the people you should be hanging out with in the first place.
And something I've noticed too is like whenever you are like genuine to yourself, I feel like more people are gonna like you regardless. Because like obviously in my grade I kind of got lucky because there wasn't like there was like a party crowd, but like most of our grade wasn't a party crowd, so I lucked out like friend wise and all of that. But like whenever you, I don't know, just like whenever you get drawn into that and you seek other people to, I don't know, like you just want them to hang out with you and whatever, it's very sad. But obviously I wasn't in the party crowd and I was just myself, but then the people that were in the party crowd, they still liked me for who I was. They didn't like me, like obviously I didn't go to parties, but if I went to parties or whatever, they wouldn't have liked me because I went to parties. Like they liked me because I was me, you know?
Yeah, and like my sophomore year, I really struggled, and like I went to parties a lot. Like I was not trying to be in the party crowd, but I kind of like let myself get dragged into that because of the temptation of like wanting to have more friends and like wanting people to like me. And so, like, if one of my friends would text me and be like, hey, I'm going to this party, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll go too. Yeah. And it, like, took me a while to realize, like, this isn't good for me. Like, I don't want to be doing this. These aren't the people I want to be surrounded with. Because it honestly, like, every time I went to one, it just brought me so much anxiety. And, like, I felt so guilty about it so many times. And, like, the past year or so, I've lost a lot of friends just because, like, I don't do that anymore. Yeah. Like, I had to say no so many times that they just, like, quit asking.
See, I kind of think that that's cool. It's like, you get to a point where it's just, like, they don't even ask because they already know.
They already know I'm not gonna go.
Yeah, like, all my friends which most of my friends I made are literally from the ministry anyway, so they wouldn't even ask me to go to a party because they don't. But there are some people that I met, like, through the rowing team and things like that, and like they wouldn't even ask me to go to a party because they know that I wouldn't want to go, and like that's honestly a compliment.
Yeah,
you know,
like it's just not an environment I really like enjoy myself in. Like I just don't enjoy being there. I don't enjoy how it makes me feel afterwards or anything, and like so many of my friends just don't even talk to me anymore. That's so like sad. I'll try and like I don't think they're like have any malicious intent behind it, but like I'll try and reach out and like make plans to like go do something in town or something, and it's just like they're just so like not into it. Like not because all they want to do is party, but more because like I don't go to parties so they don't see me as much maybe, but I don't know, I just feel like so many of my friends have just kind of like loosely cut contact with me. But in that, I've gained so many more friends that, like, I enjoy being around. And most of them aren't from our school.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
Because a lot of people in my grade at my school, like... Yeah. It's majority party crowd.
It's basically everybody in that grade. It's very sad.
And, so most of my friends are from other schools, like, that I genuinely hang out with. Or, like, when I started dating Isaac, my boyfriend, he introduced me to a lot of people from his school that are really, like, genuine people. They don't enjoy going to parties or things like that. Like, one of my closest friends right now, Haley, she is dating my boyfriend's close friend. And so, like, we met through that. And I love her so much. Like, she is such a fun person to be around. And we always find stuff to do that doesn't involve, like, parties or drinking or anything like that. Like the other day we made those little car charms we've seen on TikTok. And it was so much fun. And I have so much more fun doing like genuine things like that than I ever did like going to a party or hanging out with people who wanted to go to parties. Like it's so much more fun doing like innocent things like that.
Another thing I think of with party stuff, it's actually kind of crazy, is I only went to one party, like, my whole high school career, and it literally was the weekend before I went to Chrysalis. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But whenever I went, like, it literally was just, like, in the middle of a cornfield, like, in Griffin, and just, like, so random. And it was just, like, I don't even know. Like, everybody was just, like, there was this one area, everybody's just, like, dancing and whatever. And then everybody was up on this hill playing ping pong and whatever else. And, like, it wasn't really even that fun.
It's really not that fun. Like, I would have fun, like, talking to people.
Yeah.
But you only talk to people for, like, 10 seconds at a time because the music's so loud you can't hear them.
Yeah.
And it's, like, being around that many, like, because so many people get, like, really drunk.
Yeah.
And it's just not fun to be in that environment for me.
Yeah, and I think, like, I don't know, just the whole vibe that it basically was just everybody was just kind of hanging out but drinking. Like, you can do that without drinking. Like, our friend group just hangs out. Like, we'll just watch a movie at somebody's house or something and just, like, talk and hang out. And, like, we don't need to, you don't need to drink or any of those things to have a good time. Like, what?
I feel like you honestly have a better time, like, not drinking.
Yeah, because then, like, if you're drinking, like, you're not going to feel good.
And
like,
you
especially
can't
the next
go
morning.
anywhere. Like, if you want to go somewhere, you can't go anywhere. Like, hopefully you're not going anywhere if you've been drinking.
Literally.
Like, you're kind of just stuck wherever you are, and it's like,
yeah,
I have more fun, like, going shopping or going to get coffee, like, things like that.
Yeah, I love doing things like that. It's just so genuine. But another thing to note is, like, obviously we can still be friends with those type of people.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Don't completely push them out. Me and Courtney kind of talked about this on the last one. But, like, don't completely shut those people out. Because then they're going to be like, oh, well, they hate these people, blah, 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 blah.
And it's like, see, I've kind of struggled with that because I still talk to my friends that enjoy going to parties. And, like, I'll reach out and ask if they want to make plans or things like that. And it's just, like, I feel like it's almost the opposite way. Like, not me pushing them out because they go to parties, but them pushing me out because I don't. And it's like, you have fun however you want. Eventually you'll grow out of it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, like, I just don't understand because some of them, it seems like they don't have fun unless, like, alcohol or something is involved. And it's like, I hate to say that, and I'm not, like, judging them because obviously the only person that can judge them is God. But it's just hard sometimes to try and, like, continue being friends with them when they kind of push you out because of that.
I think with that, it's kind of like be friends at school and, like, talk to them at school, at lunch, in class, whatever. But then, like, you don't really need you don't need to hang out with those people on the weekends.
You can be friendly without being friends.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good. That's very true.
I feel like you should try to be friendly to everyone, and you don't have to be, like, friends with them though. Like, you can just be nice to someone without having to hang out with them all the time or things like that.
Yeah, that's definitely, like, finding that boundary between who am I going to be friends with, like, outside of school and then inside of school. Like, inside of school, I feel like we can be friends with everybody. Like, there's no need to push anybody away or things like that.
Yeah.
But then on the weekends, like, obviously you're not pushing them away, but, like, you just don't need to hang out with those type of people because that's what they do on the weekends.
Yeah.
But, like, still be loving to those people and don't push them away. But I think that does happen a lot to where, like, you're not pushing them away, but they kind of push you away because they don't want to hang out with you because they just want to party and drink and stuff, which is, it's sad.
It really is, because it's like, I like having experienced that. Like, all my friends were doing it, so obviously, like, I got pulled into it and, wasn't strong enough to say no then, but I was just kind of like, okay, this is what everyone's doing, like, this is what you do to hang out with people, and then it's just like, why do people find this fun? Like,
it's just so random. Like, it's, like, either somebody's, like, garage or something, or in my case, it was in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world?
Like, we're all just walking around, and most people are drinking? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it literally was just walking around basically the whole time and, like, talking to different people, like, which could be nice, like, getting to catch up with people, but like you said, you literally only talk to them for, like, 10 seconds and then you're, like, on to somebody else because you don't even hear it because the music is always so loud.
And it's, like, I understand how it can be fun seeing people that you normally wouldn't see on a weekend because, like, there's a lot of people that you're not really close with that you wouldn't just, like, hang out with on the regular, but it's like, do you really want to see them while they're, like, throwing up or, like, doing things like that?
The amount of people at school, like, I So, like, in our dorm, obviously, I talked to a lot of people that were in, like, our hallway, and, like, we would hang out with them, like, in their dorms and, like, whatever else. And I, like, was in a lot of their private stories, and they literally would just post videos of, like, people drinking or people throwing up. And I saw literally one this morning of somebody throwing up, and I was like, you're gonna make me throwing up, me throw up from watching that.
That's so...
Like,
I can't imagine.
What?
Like, that's so... Wouldn't you rather do something else with your time?
Yeah,
you know
what?
I mean? Like, I don't want to, like, shame anyone or judge anyone, but at the same time, it's like, I pray they find peace elsewhere.
Yeah. I think some people kind of do say, like, I don't know, this is different person to person, but I feel like some people have said, like, they, like, will be big partiers in high school, and then they kind of, like, got it out of their system, I guess, and they don't really do it in college, or there's people that party in high school and college, and they continue to drink and be drunk when they're adults, too, but I don't know, I feel like it can go kind of both ways. Some people will kind of be like, alright, like, I know how the party crowd is, I understand that, but I don't want to be a part of that anymore, which is, like, good, but, like, I hate that you had to go through that to party and all that stuff, but, like, I'm glad that you're out of it, but, I don't know, that can be hard, but I don't know, I feel like I just don't really understand it as much because I wasn't really ever in that crowd, like, even before I came to Christ, I was just like, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, like you said, you got very lucky, like, with your grade, and being able to have so many, like, different options for friends.
Yeah, literally. It was, and literally, like, I used to be really good friends with these two. I always talk about them. I'm still not going to say their names. They know who they are. I used to be friends with these two girls, and we were best friends, like, for forever. And I feel like whenever they started to get into partying is whenever I found my, like, friends now. Which, like, it was kind of nice because, like, whenever I was friends with them, like, they didn't drink and stuff, whatever. But then they slowly started, like, as upperclassmen started to party and stuff, and that's when I kind of wasn't, that's kind of like whenever I went through chrysalis. So it kind of like worked out to where I never was really in that crowd, but yeah, I got really lucky because like everybody in that grade is just like really awesome.
And I feel like we got totally off the topic of comparison.
It's okay.
But I feel like it honestly fits into comparison because like you compare yourself to what other people are doing your age, and I feel like it's easy to almost feel like you're not doing what's normal. Because the majority of people you're around, like the majority of your peers are doing that, but it's just hard to realize that because that's what they're doing doesn't necessarily make it normal. Yeah, like people like us are like outcast kind of in today's society, which is sad, but like also at the same time I feel like the like I don't know, just like the Jesus following crowd, I don't know how to whatever, like this crowd of people is starting to like become bigger, and like I started to see like more revivals across just like everywhere and things like that, which is so it's so cool to see. And me and my boyfriend were talking about this the other day. I just feel like so many more people are outside this summer. Like I don't know if you've noticed that, but like we've been playing a ton of pickleball recently, like so much. And the courts are full, like, every time we go. And it's just, like, I feel like so many more people are outside this summer than they have been in the past. And it's just, like, people are doing more things, like, with their families and with their friends, like, besides just, like, sitting in a barn and drinking. Yeah, I feel like another thing, too, with that kind of helped people kind of now kind of spreading to go outside and do different things like that is, like, because of COVID. Like, I feel like we got kind of stuck in, like, doing all the inside things and like whatever, so then we like got in the habit of doing those things. Like now it's finally like, okay, wait, like we actually can have fun doing these other things. Just kind of noticing things like that. But another little not a quote but just a little statement that I had thought of whenever I was researching for this. Well, I don't think I thought of it. I think I saw it online. But anyways, it just says, comparison drives sinful competition between believers and just other people as well. So, I don't know. Just, like, the competition that comes from comparison, like, that is so, like, sinful because we're comparing ourselves and we're wanting to, like, work up to be better than those people. Which is just, like, it's just so, it's so easy to get drawn into. But, like, yeah, even, I feel like we've talked a lot about, like, with, like body types and different things like that, but like also within your faith it's very easy to
compare yourself to different believers and like getting into like, oh, they believe this, oh, they believe this, I don't do this, blah blah blah. And like sometimes even within that is like people will like be like hatred against another religion, which is like crazy.
It's like people can believe different things and you can still believe what you believe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially like within Christianity, like there's so many different types of like religions within Christianity, and like everybody believes different things. And I like was babysitting all throughout this week, and their grandma was there helping me a couple days, and even just talking to her, so like she grew up like the Catholic Church, like they still go to the Catholic Church, like whatever, like their kids go to St. Wendell. But she was like, there's even some things within the Catholic Church that I don't agree with. She's like, I'm still going to continue going to like the church and different things like that. But like, even within your own church, there are sometimes things that you don't agree with. And there's never going to be like a church that you agree 100% with, I feel like. Like there's always probably one thing, like even if you don't know it yet, there's probably one thing at least that you don't agree with.
Because everyone can interpret the Bible like in so many different ways. And that just leads to like, so, like, all the different types of Christianity there are, and just all the different believers, which I find it really interesting to, like, discuss with other believers, like, what they find different, and, like, what they see versus what I see is really interesting to me, and I feel like that's a really good way to, like, see things in a different point of view, or, like, learn about different things.
Yeah, and everybody definitely does get, like, something different from what they're reading, because even, like, so Ignite is a ministry that I go to at school. I talk about all the time. But even within that, so our little Bible study group, like there would be times we'd be reading through something and then like they would ask like, oh, like what does this mean or whatever. And like everybody would have a little bit of a different like interpretation or something. Or one of the big questions our student leader always likes to ask is, all right guys, what stood out? Like she always asked that every time after we read. And it's just cool to see like something different stood out to every single person. Yeah. So like whenever you're reading, like you might really think like, oh, this passage I'm really getting this specific thing out of it, but somebody else might get something like completely different out of it.
And me and Lane St. Clair, we used to do Bible studies at like the Duncan on the north side, and we would just like sit down, choose a book, and like read a little like page or two, and then talk about like what we got out of it. And each time I felt like we were both getting something so different out of it, but it was like it related to what we both needed at that point in our life. Yeah. And it's so cool like how the Bible can speak to you in different ways based on where you are in your life at that moment.
Yes, different points in your life, definitely different things stick out, because I just noticed like reading something like so like Romans was one of the first books I think I ever read, and reading that whenever I like was a new believer versus reading that now, like I get completely different things out of it, which is so cool. Like what? Like it's all the same. It was all the same the whole time, but like really being able to like focus and pinpoint something else out of it, like that's so cool.
It's so cool seeing like how different things will process like in your mind where you are in life at that time.
Yeah. I had another verse. It doesn't really relate to what we were just saying, but I just wanted to go ahead and bring that up. So it's 2 Corinthians 10, verse 12, and it says, we do not dare to oh shoot, is that right? We do not dare to classity? I don't know.
Maybe anyways. Classify?
Yeah, I think it was classify. Okay, we do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise. Sorry, that was confusing. But I just think about, like, with that, like, comparing yourself to yourself and by yourself, or whatever. Even just, like, comparing yourself to, like, an old self. I feel like there's so many times, like, I'll just, like, be scrolling through, like, random pictures and stuff, and I'll be like, oh, like, I used to, like, look like this, and I used to do this, and whatever, and I'm not that now, blah, 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 which is, like, that's even bad. Like, we can compare ourselves to our old self, which is, like, something that's not.
All the time.
Yeah, and I feel like whenever I compare myself, like, to my older self, it's typically not in like a faith-based way, because I didn't really have a faith, my old self, which like it's only been like a couple years, but just like looking at times like before that, like bad comparison wise, like sometimes it's just like, oh, like my hair color and my body type, or like different things like that, But even sometimes, like within my faith, I feel like I can compare myself in a good way. So we've talked about a lot about comparison can be bad, but like also looking at your growth, like comparing yourself to your old self and looking at your growth is a way that it can be good. Like obviously my senior year, whenever like I first really dove into everything, just seeing myself then versus now, I feel like I've grown and learned a lot. So that type of comparison is good, and just realizing like, oh, like I really like, you know, like this is working out in a good way for me.
Yeah, like be proud of yourself. Like, be proud of yourself for the growth you've made. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just, somebody actually sent me an Instagram reel the other day. It was funny, and it was so random because, I don't know. Anyways, but it was just saying, like, it's just cool to see, like, how sorry guys, my words are crazy right now. But anyways, seeing, like, the seeds that you planted, like, a while ago and seeing the fruit come to life now.
Yes.
And, like, within other people as well, like, and there's times that we don't even realize that we're planting a seed within somebody. Like, obviously there is times that it is purposeful, but there's times that we don't even realize it, just like our lifestyle and habits. Like, people can see that in a good way and grow in their faiths in a good way. So, obviously, like, you can compare yourself to other people in a bad way, but, like, sometimes you can see, like, how strong their faith is and start to grow in your own faith. So, there's also a good side of comparison.
There's, like, comparison that you can use to grow yourself versus comparison you use to, like, beat yourself down.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of where the line is drawn.
Yeah, and just realizing where that good comparison can come from and things like that. So obviously, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I can't really think of another example besides just like seeing your growth is a good type of comparison, and looking to other people and how their faith is so strong and like wanting to grow your faith that way as well, which is really cool, honestly. It's just like seeing all the fruits grow from everything. It's just like, oh my gosh. And like thinking about like how so many different people like played a role in that as well. So like within like just like going through like my Crystal's flight, like there was so many different people that were pouring into me then. And then even after like different churches, there's so many people that poured into me, and doing Bible studies with my friends and going to Ignite, there's so many different people that have poured into me. And like seeing the fruits that they planted, like, I don't know, that's just like a really good feeling. Just
it definitely is. Like seeing how other people have helped you grow in yourself.
Yeah, there's just so many people that play a role in it, and it's just like, even sometimes just like, if you kind of like are thinking about it, maybe even just like messaging that person, just like, hey, you know, like thanks for being you.
Yeah.
Because everybody, even if it's the littlest thing, like everybody plays, I feel like mostly everybody like that, just like plays like a little role in the way that you grow. And even the people that are like going to parties and things like that like you used to be friends with, they even played a role in who you are now, which is like cool. Obviously it wasn't like, I mean, it ended up being good because like you saw that and was like, oh, I don't want to do that. But like they still had like a role in who you are today.
And like obviously I regret those things and like I repented, but ultimately like it made me who I am now, and I may not have ended up as strong in my faith if I hadn't had to go through like the tough times for that.
Yeah, I feel like I bring that up all the time because your trials and tribulations, like they really just they can bring out the best in you. Like obviously I feel like sometimes in the beginning we can like harp on it and get down a little rabbit hole, but after like you kind of grow through those things and you understand like life in a new way, I guess. Like all of those trials made you a stronger person. And obviously like they're bad at the time, and there's so many times I can be like, oh well, I wish this person didn't do this to me or do this and whatever, but it made me a better person and it made me who I am today, which is just like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just really cool. But yeah, so if you guys have tuned out, definitely tune back in because we're just going to do a little recap of everything that we kind of talked about today. So I gave the definition of comparison, which was a consideration or estimate of the similarities or dissimilarities between two things or people. So obviously you're just, I don't know how else to say, you're just comparing yourself, how similar or dissimilar you are to somebody or something. And then we talked about the Cain and Abel story, how Cain got so jealous in comparing himself to Abel, and he literally killed Abel. So comparison can drive you down a dark rabbit hole if you let it, which is, I don't know, it's just terrible. And then some of the verses that we talked about today were Romans 12:3, Galatians 1:10, and 2 Corinthians 10:12, if you wanted to check those out. And then another thing that I had said was comparison drives sinful competition between believers and just other people in general. But yeah, we kind of just talked about how social media can really draw people into comparison nowadays, and how it's just a big rabbit hole. You can compare yourself to other believers, comparing yourself, if you're like within like a business, comparing yourself to a different business, or comparing your grades to somebody else's and things like that. It's just a big rabbit hole. But also rounding it out in that comparison can be good. Like whenever we're looking at a believer that has a stronger faith and you wanting to grow in your faith because you see that, and also just comparing yourself to your old self, in a sense of, I used to be this little and meek in my faith, but now I'm this strong in my faith. So yeah, comparison can be good and bad, but whenever it's bad and we let ourselves go down that rabbit hole, then it just gets worse. So just kind of realizing that you are comparing and kind of picking yourself up out of that, and realizing that you're not the only one going through that. You know, everybody compares themselves to somebody else at some point in their lives, whether it's good or bad. It happens to everybody, so don't feel alone or afraid, and feel free to reach out to somebody like us. Like, we're always here, or just your friends or family or whoever. They're always there to talk, I'm sure. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I love having new guests on. It's always so fun, and I feel like we always go down a rabbit hole just random things. Like, obviously it's relating, but like it's just so far off of where we start. But it's just cool, just like hearing everybody's stories and how just kind of everything that kind of shaped them into who they are today. So yeah, like I said, thank you guys so much for listening, and definitely stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.